Thrand here, and I am back, and it feels good to be back. Sorry I haven't put any videos out in a while. Since the plague hit the land, lots of things have changed and happened in my life, so it's been difficult to put videos out like we did on a regular basis. But now I plan on starting back up. I have lots of different weapons and items and armor and things sent by different weapon manufacturers, different armorers, different companies that do things like that, and I haven't had a chance to put anything out. So I'd like to apologize to all those people, especially Medieval Shoppe Australia. And today we're doing a very different blade than we normally do. We've done a few blades from later century, but this is an 1831 French artillery sword or infantry sword. I think Matt Easton did a video a while back on blades like this, and he had an actual antique one. This one, if you can't afford an antique, is from Medieval Shoppe and is their version of the, I believe it's the Shoppe or Shoppe. In French it means the cabbage cutter. So I mean that is all into the point that it's like a big butcher knife or a big blade that's used to cut maybe foliage. So we believe that honestly these blades were real popular with artillerymen because they used it to chop brush out of the way. Like during the French and Indian War later on, when it was used in the Americas, it was used to go through the marshlands and the brush and so on. It would help you cut stuff out of the way and set up your artillery or whatever you need to do to clear a path or clear an area. It's a really robust blade. This is in that fashion. It's made out of EN45 steel. It has the classic brass hilt where it's solid brass. It has a solid tang of EN45 steel that goes through, and it's peened on the back with a cap to cover that over so you don't even see the actual back of the blade. It looks very elegant. It has that classic design of the 1816 that originated from, and what France was doing is they liked the old Roman Empire. They wanted to be the new Roman Empire, and the idea was this was a gladius. But if you look closely at it, the blade looks a lot more like a Ewart Park or let's say a Wilburton or something, which will be tested on the channel. The French were also big into carrying smaller blades, kind of like having a big bayonet or something, but a really hefty one, like the briquet. They had like mini sabers. But as you know, at the time period, a lot of people had large sabers, so something like this with a little cruciform handle, you know, cross guard and a hilt would be very difficult to parry without injuring your hand, and you didn't have the reach. You could still possibly fight with it. It'd be great in really tight areas, like tight inside a building or something like that, if you were fighting, or inside a trench or small area with lots of brush around you and stuff where you couldn't use something longer or had trouble with it. You could still use something short like this and get in and fight and be able to cut with it. A lot of times these weren't sharp when they were actually issued. This one comes sharp, so be very careful if you want this blade. It'd be great if you do any type of French War reenactment, if you do American Civil War or anything like that reenactment. You could use this easily, even though it's not the American sanctioned version that they started making based on it. It's not the 1832 that the Americas had. It's more of the 1831 or even 1832 French version, because that's what they made. It didn't have fullers in it. It wasn't light. It was made very hefty and very much like an earlier period blade. Like I said, like a Bronze Age blade, which most of those are fairly light, but or an Iron Age blade, but actually hefty. Same design blade, kind of a leaf-shaped blade. Very elegant, very effective, especially if you're not wearing armor. The broader blade, like my friend Roland Vorzeka says, if you were to thrust with this, would cause a massive wound. So perhaps maybe not cutting so much in combat as thrusting with it, it would be even more effective. But just the weight of it and the way it feels with the hilt and everything, I know it's quite hefty. And honestly, if this was to be used in combat melee, I would suggest using something like an aspis or a scutum like the Romans used. Something like that. Yeah, a sharp blade like this, you could get in, you could thrust with it, you'd be able to get in close with your shield. If you had something like an aspis back here, like I've got, which were phased out by the time this was actually in use. So no, it was more of a utility blade. I believe it was used a lot to clear brush, stuff like that. But today we want to see how effective it was in combat. I'm doing this for Medieval Shoppe, see how tough their blade is. And I can already tell you that this is a robust blade, very strong, very durable. And what we're going to do is we're going to try it on one of my analog ballistics gel heads. This is a very tough gel head, extremely tough. And the reason why is I had to let it set up longer than I wanted. We didn't get to do it when we wanted because we had lots of bad weather and things came about, different things that were going on. But our big problem, if you look closely, we have a bleed. What that means is it's not damaged in any way, but the actual joint that leads into our coconut skull, which is hard to find large-sized coconuts at the current time, bled some of the actual colored blood or fake blood, the dye, into the actual gel. If that's weaker, I doubt it. It's just more of a aesthetic thing. It looks like his throat's already slit or something, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's all intact. So it's extra tough. It's been setting up, curing a lot longer, and it should be one heck of a test. So what we're going to do today is see if it was used, and I doubt they would have used any specific techniques other than what they'd seen with sabers, what they've seen with spadoons, rapier style weapons like small swords, stuff like that. That's all they would have known. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead, and if you're an infantryman and didn't even know that much, this would just be a really hefty utility tool and something, even if it wasn't sharp, that you could maybe split a man's skull with. But this day, this is very sharp. We've got a very tough skull or head that we test on normally, and we're going to see how much damage this blade would actually do. And since it weighs as much as a full saber, which we have a saber here, a French saber, it would do the same amount of damage in my mind, just be a little clunkier as a blade of that length. So well, it should be very, very effective. Let's get going. As you can tell, this blade would not be good for fencing in the respect of using it like a actual saber, like a lot of people would have used a saber or a spadoon or something you might see on the field. But for maximum reach, I think they could just reach out and hit with it if they possibly could step in and get the attack, maybe push something out of the way, grab a bayonet or something after they've crossed and came in. So anyway, as I think actually, I remember seeing that in the Matt Easton video. But anyway, if you came in to attack the guy, so what would he do? I think just an overhead hit with the heft of this and the weight, and this one actually being sharpened, would do devastating damage to our actual skull or our head. So we're going to try that first and see what kind of damage I can get from that, and then we might try a decap today and see what we can do on our head. I don't know, but I think that that is a kill. If I was able to parry his bayonet and grab it and get a nice headshot, I think this thing would be more than effective, even though it's a very sharp blade. It has all the weight of a longer blade. And we know that these worked very well with the Ewart Park and so on, and did the same kind of damage. But I think being steel, yeah, this is devastating. Did you want to get a close-up of it? Just so they can get an idea of it when in the full width of this wide blade. It's over 2 inches. I'd say it's about 2 inches wide, actually. A little over 2 inches. Their blade is a little heftier even, I think, than maybe the historical one, but I don't mind. Works great for me. I always like letting people see the close-up of what it did, but I mean, I think that, what do you think, Kitty? Catty? That's destructive, right? I think we pretty much destroyed him with that one. I say before we do the decap, this side looks a little bare, so I'm going to try hitting it from this angle over here. Let's say it was a saber or a spadoon style weapon or something, and not an actual rifle bayonet you could grab a hold of like I did earlier and attack, you know, parry out of the way and, you know, maybe attack the guy. We'll come from that side, we parry it, and we're going to come straight in. Yes, I would say this is a very effective weapon. Might want to get a close-up of this one. This is impressive. But as you can see here, yeah. I'm not saying that it was used as a weapon commonly, but let's say you were able to actually get past the point of something longer and get on a man, or a man had a knife or something smaller or a hatchet or something, and you were fighting with this and you got your blow in, I think this would be the final blow. This blade here is specifically for medieval Shoppe, I would say, the way they've designed it. Yeah, any blow you hit with would be the fatal final blow, especially to the head. I don't care if it was sharp or not. I think the wounds would actually be enough to break the skull, but with the edge, I mean, this is slicing completely through the skull. So yeah, this is very, very impressive. I'm going to go ahead and try the decap, and I'm honestly going to tell you, I think it's going to take the head completely off. I mean, and I'm thinking, we don't do this too often. We did it with the kukri. We came through this way, and we cut completely through the head and took it off. So we'll try that from this back angle, backhand. Oof! Oh, a little too high, a little too high. I meant to hit right on the neck, but we went through our jaw. Might want to show them this real quick. I just went through the jaw trying that. We have quite of a long jaw. I guess he's got a horse face. The way I did it's what I had at the time and the way it lined up. But this actually cut through our jaw. You see a clean cut at the top. Some of it shattered like bone would, and it cut into the other side. So yeah, that is nasty. You can see it here. We'll give that another go. I mean, sometimes I'm a little more accurate coming across, so maybe. That was a cool try, though. I just went a little bit high with it. I think I'll go across. We will go across this way. Oof. Whoa! We didn't quite make it. We made it into the skull, but not enough. We're going to try one more time. Oof. That one did it. We went through the spine, and the head's completely off. Now, as for a clean decap, it's not completely clean. It's almost all the way through, but he would have a little bit of flesh holding it on the other side, which is kind of expected. I mean, it is a shorter blade, and I'm having to cut up close, so it's much more like cutting with a knife or something, because you've got all strong, but a lot of it's me putting my body behind it, not just using the acceleration at the tip. But we've got a nice decap here. I think this blade's done extremely well. I'd like to thank Medieval Shoppe for this. Excellent blade. I'd like to do some more with it in the future. I want to try some thrusting tests as well. I'd like to try through actual heavier garments and woolens and stuff that they might have been wearing at the time period and see how well it would pierce. I think it will pierce excellently, and it will work well, of course. I mean, can't see how it wouldn't. I think this is a great blade if you want to use it for Civil War reenactment, maybe as a Confederate, because they had a lot of non-sanctioned blades made, or they might have used actual French blades that they got a hold of, not ones that were actually sanctioned normally, unless they got a hold of them on the field, let's say. But they like their own blades, and a lot of times they put their own stamps on them. This one comes unstamped. I don't know if I mentioned that, but if you want to put your own mark on it, because a lot of times these were sent to different countries. Lots of countries use this actual sword, so to speak, at the time period. So you could put your own markings on it from any country you'd like, because it comes from Medieval Shoppe, and this is Medieval Shoppe's reproduction or representation. It's not an actual antique. So that also gives you the liberty to actually really use it if you would like we're doing today, and not feel like you're destroying some kind of artifact or antique. But anyway, I want to come back with more videos very soon. I'm sorry I haven't had anything out till now. I highly apologize to everybody out there that's been staying around and waiting and sending me messages, and thank you for all the messages. And yes, we're doing all right. We had a lot of hard times there for a while, but everything's back to normal, hopefully. So anyway, as always, farewell.
What's up, everybody? Thegn Thrand needs our help. Currently, he's in trouble of losing his house, and he needs some serious help if he's going to make it through this. If you don't know who Thegn Thrand is, he's been doing YouTube for about 14 years now. He started off in his backyard debunking all the ridiculous inaccuracies from the Deadliest Warrior TV show, and he went on to test tons of weapons, armor, and myths surrounding them. As I've said before, I've actually worked with Thrand for many of those years. I created his logo, his thumbnails, his intros and outros, designed his t-shirts, and I helped him edit a few videos. So if you look down below, you'll see a link. There's a Spot Fund fundraising account there. If you have the ability to just give whatever you can to help him out, so at least he has some way to bounce back from this. And if you can't, man, just go watch a bunch of his videos. He's got lots of entertaining stuff on there. Maybe he can get something off the ad revenue, and whatever you can do. And hey, watch those videos anyway. Thrand is a very underrated and underappreciated YouTuber. He was planning on making a comeback. He hasn't been able to make videos in about 3 years. The coronavirus pandemic hit him in the wallet pretty hard, and he hasn't been able to invest in his YouTube channel. And if it comes down to it, the weapons and armor that he has might be the things that have to go in order to sustain himself, which will probably make bouncing back even harder. So I hope this message finds you, and we can do something to turn this around. Thanks for your time.